So I've been asked to talk about this frame protection setup that I generally do on all my bikes. So you can see here's the standard paint, the standard finish of this bike, and up here you see I've got the frame tape. I've circled the edges, rounded off the edges, applied it all across the top tube, so the entire top tube's covered down to here, so I've cut around that as well. Now what I did here is I left some square edges, which this would have been one of the first bits I put on. I forgot to round that edge off, but when you're doing this, if you want it to last as long as possible, round the edges off like I've done with that piece there. So that's the piece for underneath. So it wraps all the way around. Hard to tell because the sun's in the background there, but it wraps the entire down tube there, the entire top tube, sorry. And then you've just got a little bit of free, so that's all raw. It's all the raw paint, raw welds. Welds are a little harder to cover up because they ended up looking a little bit tacky with the tape over it, unless you use a heat gun, and heat gun, shrink fit it. On the back here, whoops, I just stood on my stuff. Just stood on my last piece of frame tape on the back here. So from the top, it's one piece all the way down to just above that weld. So that's protecting from stone chips coming out of your tyre and whatnot. Still got a few, got a couple here, there and there. So which I, that's spots that I did cover up, which I probably should have, but doesn't matter. The back here, from weld to weld, pretty much is tape. So you can see where the tape starts there. Weld to weld, really good setup. Underneath, same story. So, see if we can get, starts at the end of the rubber guard. So the rubber guard protect the down tube, and from there up, that entire lot is frame taped all the way up to, let me go around the other side of the bike so we get the sun out of the way. All the way up to the top. That's a bit hard to see, but basically I've covered everywhere that there's going to be rubbing, or when you do shuttles, that always gets rubbed, so that's covered. My forks, I've done the legs of my forks. So basically from where the axle mount comes out off of the main fork, I've got 100mm, so this is a piece of 100mm 3M tape, protective tape, wrapped around and just really worked in to make, get rid of all the bubbles, make sure there's no bubbles. Wrap that as well, so that'll keep the forks looking good. In terms of how to apply it, a lot of people say use water. Spray the water with the Johnson's baby shampoo mix, ever so slightly, add a little bit of baby shampoo. So this is the 100mm wide stuff. I use 100 and I use 50. 100 for the down tube, 100 for the forks, and 50 for pretty much everywhere else depending on the shape of your bike and whatnot. 50 is a little bit easier to work with if you got odd shapes. But basically what I'll do is, say for instance on this top tube, I needed it from there to there. So before the piece is cut, I'll roll it out as long as whatever it is. And so this bit here goes from this weld down to, I want to cut it there, but the entire piece wants to be this long. So I cut a piece that long, and then I cut that shape out of it. Then what I do is I start at the top here with this. I'll peel this open and expose about that much. I'll expose about that much of the tape, and I'll lay the rest of it on the top tube with the, so it's not sticky yet, it's only the top bit that's sticky. I'll lay it on the top tube, make sure that it's square all the way down the bottom, so square it up, and then I'll rub the center, so place that center, no water, no squirty stuff, no nothing. I'll anchor that, so that's stuck down now, and then I'll slowly peel the rest of this back from underneath, so peel the protective layer out, peel the white stuff from underneath, and just slowly work my way down just the middle, so just sticking the middle down. Once that center is stuck down the whole way and your white bit's gone, all you're left is the clear with the clear, then you go back to the top and you start feathering stuff out, so pushing it out and pushing it around. Try not to touch anything down below, not creating any creases or bubbles or anything. You're just pushing it outwards from the center, wrap it around, even if you just do one side at a time. So say we've stuck it in the center, we're just going to worry about the left. So we're going to stick the entire left down, all the way down, then we're going to come back up and we're going to stick the entire right side all the way down. And that should allow you to get all the bubbles out, and or to not have any bubbles really. And if you see a bubble starting to form, you peel that bit off, roll the bubble out, put it back down, and just keep going. So the process, once you've got the sticky stuff on, is just with your thumb. It's hard work on the fingers, it's a few hours work, and just rubbing it, and then rubbing it around the next bend. Keep rubbing. And for me, I feel like that gets me the best overall finish. On black bikes, it's a little harder. Gloss black, it'll turn out really good, but matte black, you really see the difference between where the tape is and where the tape isn't. So, which doesn't really matter in the end of the day. It's still going to protect your frame. It's just going to stand out a little bit more. Still looks good and still brings the frame, makes the color better, makes color look better, more vibrant. But just rolling with your thumb, rolling all of that stuff out, to me is the best way to do it. And make sure you cut your edges, so you got rounded edges. You see that one here that I've done is a little bit dodgy, but I had to kind of cut it in situ. So I'd put it on and it was a little bit long, so I had to fiddle around. Super sharp scissors is the key as well. So super sharp scissors, go to Spotlight, get yourself a good pair of scissors. Material scissors, material cutting scissors. Even if you get a big pair and a really small pair for fine tuning, it's probably the best way to go. I wouldn't recommend getting the Stanley knife and cutting here, because you're going to end up putting little surface cuts in your paint. That's not going to look good either. So 3M protective tape. I use the UV resistant stuff, doesn't matter UV or not. Still does the same job more or less. But it's got a couple of blemishes in it, and I crashed the other day and the bike got a little bit of a rub on the ground, but not much. And this is all that, you can see that rub there. So that would have scratched up the paint. So now I'm gonna have this bike for however long I want it. And if I decide to move it on, the frame's still in really good nick, everything's still in really good nick, and it's appealing. It still stands as quite a new looking bike, instead of having heaps of scuffs and rub marks from riding in the wet where your knees rub against the top tube and whatnot, or where your bottle goes in and out and rubs against the top tube. So cover as much of the frame as you can, do it neatly. Sometimes it'll take you a few goes. Just be patient with it. Like I said, I don't like the water method. Some people like it, some people don't. The water method's really good for doing a car, if you're doing a big sheet on the front of the car or the bonnet of the car or something. But for doing these intricate bits and pieces, I like to anchor it and work with the frame dry, and it seems to be easier to get all the imperfections and the bubbles and whatnot gone. With water, it was quite a tedious process, to be honest. So give it a crack. 3M protective tape. I'm pretty sure you can get it on eBay. I get it locally from a guy in Hindmarsh. The place is called Terry Auto Distributors. He does cash only sales. He doesn't have an FPOS machine there, so if you're going to go in, say hello to him, tell him I sent you, he'll hook you up. Otherwise, speak to your shop, see if you can get, they can get it in for you. But most certainly prolongs the life of your frame, keeps everything looking really, really good, and yeah, it'll help you sell it down the track if you end up moving your bike on.